When the shows go into the color department, that's where I really hand it off. Our department are all painters, or they have color theory knowledge, and they can build these backgrounds and environments that are just beautiful, and they're all tied together, and they have mood.
We couldn't ask for a better team to work on the show. Every single thing you see on screen that has a unique color has been designed by them.
They sort of find a way of making, every place we go to sort of unique and just inspiring, and ultimately in the color theme of the show.
One of the things that we wanted to achieve in Futurama is to basically get a great looking show. One of the key ways of doing this is to create a beautiful color palette.
Futurama probably has one of the most beautiful palettes, and it's something you sort of don't always associate with animation, or certainly television animation.
Why isn't there a lighthouse to guide us away from the rocks?
I don't know, but look out for that lighthouse!
Our show uses drawn backgrounds. There's line art on the backgrounds. It does make it a little easier when we do 3D backgrounds. It's easier to blend them to the 2D because you have that outline. But, it takes a little extra effort to make them separate from the characters, make them have a little more depth and look realistic, even though they're clearly a drawing.
All the characters will also have lighting on them, and that's done with scales. I call them scales, or RGB scales, which will give them a little bit of a warm highlight on them and a shadow to go with the fire.
Name's Tarquin. Been alone here tending this light longer than I can remember.
Each one of our designs gets put into a database, and that database we export for the color department. They look at each design and color it, and sometimes they will overlap the different designs if they need to see a character against a background or a character with a prop, so that you can anticipate how those colors are going to react and how the entire shot's going to look as a result.
One thing we do with our backgrounds is we Photoshop them just to give them a little bit of depth, a little bit of atmosphere, and it makes the characters, while they don't pop off it, they still stand out distinctly from it.
When we started with Futurama about 14 years back, it's a total blank slate, It's like, this is how we get our, until then the whole show is designed only as such, just black and white line. There's no color, there's nothing established, so the color becomes the emotion of the show. And we, over time, came up with a palette that we felt was rich and playful, and also kind of kept the sense of like the toy they were mimicking. And we also wanted to, because it's futuristic and they go to all these different locations, we wanted to kind of keep it a little bit more sophisticated with the color too. And so it's playful and a bit rich in color and not just bright and gaudy.
Our artist, Alex, will go into each surface and using color ramps and textures and highlights, he'll add that dimension to those backgrounds so that when we actually composite the scene together, it has one more element of depth to it.
I just try to enhance it a little bit. I'll just follow their lighting structure, and basically I'm supposed to just like blend all that sky color in. He had it already keyed in, and then just sort of make it feel more like sunset, like so with the sun hitting the edges of the buildings and popping that warm color. And then I'm adding some shadows in the back just to really sell that illusion, I guess. And these guys make it really easy for me because, as long as I don't destroy like any of their value structures or the colors, it usually works out for the most part.
The last episode of Volume 8, Fry unfortunately has the dubious distinction of dying several times by landing in a pile and literally liquefying.
Oops!
Fry! Professor?
There is actually a lot of discussion on how sort of gory / graphic liquefied Fry, or the puddle of Fry, should be. I'd say that's probably one of my favorite all-time Futurama episodes.
You need to basically incorporate some of Fry's colors, but also you have to basically show his insides. In this particular instance, it's just making sure that it still reads like Fry, even when it's a million blobby molecules flying through the air.
We always want to make sure we have the exact same stock palette that we always use for Fry, at least for what's left. His hands, his hair, his eyeballs, shoe. And then I start playing with the color and putting the model right over top of the background. It doesn't exactly fit in perspective, but it gives us an idea what it's going to look like compared to all the other colors and the tonality of the scene.
He sure has a lot of blood for a skinny guy.
Color can become the emotion of the show. That's why I'm glad we have the great color people that we do, because they know how to make color become the motion of the show. And I'm glad that they're to do that.
Our colorists have, over the years developed this really great sensibility for color.
It's much more to do with the emotion of color and understanding depth and stuff using color. So I think we were very fortunate to have worked together all these years and established the look.
We color every background, every prop, and every character. Everything is sort of goes off the feeling, that same intensity, that same richness of color, depending on where we are, what we're trying to get across. It's a lot of fun.
They're able to build a new environment that is not what you expect to see, but when you see it, you buy it because the colors work together.
Taking us to completely new places, but then not making us feel they don't belong in our world. And I think that they succeed at that 100% of the time.
Why don't you just show her your big blue ass?
Oh, I'm getting to that.
If you sit down and try to design colors by yourself, you may be able to fill the areas with color. Technically, you're just filling areas with color, but in order to create the pleasing kind of inner relationships between the colors and make things stand out or make things recede and make just basically the colors work together, it is an art form. And it takes a sort of a special eye to be able to design colors and to think about colors in that sort of intimate kind of way.